Hey, how you doing? Have you seen my little robot? Woo! How cool is that? The Mercedes-Benz W124 is arguably one of the last great Mercedes. It just stands for Mercedes values. It's comfortable, it's incredibly robust, thoroughly over-engineered in many ways. It's not sporty, it's not trying to be BMW, it's not trying to be Ferrari. It's all about comfort and effortless grace. There's some very clever engineering on these cars, which starts with the jiggly windscreen wiper, more of that later, but extends down to the suspension. Now I just want to bring you in to look at this front suspension. It's approaching a McPherson strut, but it actually uses a separate coil and spring damper unit. So there's a spring on the bottom wishbone, and then you've got a shock absorber tower. But look at the angle of that wheel. It actually leans over, it develops quite a camber as you're turning, somewhat akin to a Citroen 2CV, it must be said. And other neat features, the door mirrors, you will note, are different sizes. We've got a longer one on the passenger side, sorry, on the driver's side, compared to the passenger side, which is quite stubby. There's a design feature also seen on the Volkswagen Transporter T4, and similarly swapped over for right-hand drive or left-hand drive. The coupe boasts this pillarless styling. So this window, if it works, sadly this one doesn't, will sort of fold down, so you get the full pillarless experience. And the seat belts have their own handy little robot which will pass your seatbelt to you, and it means it doesn't impede on the pillarless designs. A lot of pillarless cars have the seatbelt mounted up here, so it kind of drops down, spoils the looks. A very elegant design, I think. Some of the finest work of Mercedes-Benz. Obviously linked to other cars, very like the 190 and the larger W126. You can see the inspiration on both. Being a post-1989, it has this lower cladding on the body, which is a surprisingly successful facelift. Only a minor detail really. And we've got some lovely alloy wheels going on. The obligatory Hubnut sticker. We've still got lights ribbed for pleasure, just like the W123 models beforehand. And if we peek in here, we've got a surprisingly large boot as well. Very practical. The owner has fitted this maze of bungee cords to stop stuff flying around when you're driving down the road. Nice, neat, novel solution. But yeah, surprisingly spacious. And the warning triangle, ready for use, always a W124 feature. We jump aboard, we've got these frameless doors, lovely, but unlike a lot of cars with frameless doors, they actually feel quite robust. They don't feel like they're sagging on their hinges. And when you close them, it still feels very solid. There's a lot of strength in this structure. And it's worth remembering, this was one of the safest cars you could buy. They became available with an airbag, as fitted here, way before other people were offering such features. Mercedes-Benz were ahead of the game in that regard. So there we have the driver's eye view. Everything very clearly displayed ahead, and look, only 100,000 miles on this example. It actually clicked over 100,000 miles driving here to Wales from its home, so that's good to see. But there is the very large steering wheel with airbag. The owner has fitted this extra steering wheel cover, which I think is entirely fitting the character of the car. It actually matches the wood very nicely, I think. There is a huge indicator lever, just like on the W123, and it's a big old stalk. You twist it for the various wiper settings, and it falls very nicely to hand, as does the little cruise control stalk here. So everything just falls nicely. We've got a handbrake release here. There's your lights, and then you pull it out for the fog light. All very simple, easy to use. And I think very stylish, very simple, very stylish dashboard. We've got hazard lights here. And a nice reassuring noise. I've got an interior light switch there, I think. That button should make the rear head restraints disappear, but sadly they're not. They did work on my W124 Saloon I had several years ago. So you press that button and the head restraints fold down out of the way. Quite a nice feature. Heated rear window there. We've got a glove box integrated nicely into the dashboard. It's not enormous, but spacious enough. and the seats, which are utterly remarkable. I'd forgotten how remarkable these seats are until I jumped into this car this afternoon. They're finished in what's known as MB Tex, very, very hard wearing material. And yeah, it just, the comfort is extraordinary. You get in the car, you don't sit down and think, oh, that's a comfortable seat. But I once drove one of these for 6 hours non-stop and got out the other end. It was just like, I barely feel like I've got into it. We've got a steel sliding and tilting sunroof up there. But I think we should probably have a quick look at what it's like in the back. Even that has some interesting features, as we'll see, because I'm going to open the door and we shall step out and I shall show you. It's a pneumatic release, so that's the seat locked. Press that, you'll hear a hiss, and then I can tilt the seat and then I can clamber into the back. So let's do just that. But have to thread yourself in a bit. It's still a little tight, but there you go. I've jumped in, and if I pull the seat back, it doesn't actually lock until the engine fires up. I think it's a vacuum release. The central locking, I think, is also done by vacuum in these. So I can tilt the seat to my heart's content until the engine starts, at which point the seat will lock. But if I pull the seat back, sculpted for a bit of extra knee room. It is a little tight in the back. All the W124s did tend to be, unless they were long wheelbase. Yeah, it's a nice place to sit here. I've got the head restraints, I've got the centre armrest. It's all of the good times. If just a little bit short of legroom if you're sitting behind me. So when it comes to comfort, front seats are where you want to be. Now, irritatingly, the bonnet releases on the passenger side of the dashboard, but you pull this little tag here and then you can lift the bonnet up out of the way. It comes up very easily. It's sprung with a lovely little cantilevered hinge. Very nice. You can see the battery's got its own little compartment there. And looking somewhat tiny in this engine bay is the 4-cylinder engine. Twin cam unit, new for 1992 in these models, and offering a bit more grunt than the old 2.3 litre 4-cylinder engine. And pretty decent economy as well for what they are. Obviously, I'm a 6-cylinder man when it comes to these cars, so it'll be interesting to see how this 4-cylinder engine stacks up. But you know, things are accessible. You can kind of see what's going on. When it comes to the petrols, they all had fuel injection, apart from the base 200 models, which would still have a carburettor. I think we did have a few of those in the UK. There were also various diesel options, starting with a 2.5, I think. There may have been a 2-litre taxi diesel. But in the UK, I think the 2.5 diesel 5-cylinder was the smallest we saw, and then there was a 6-cylinder 3-litre diesel or turbo diesel, which offered a bit more grunt. Now, if you like windscreen wipers as much as I do, this next test will be all the more exciting, because we got the famous jiggity wiper blade. I've just noticed the car is presenting its seatbelts to me. I need to show you that. But we squashed the stalk in, and there we go. One of the most magnificently over-engineered windscreen wipers ever seen on a car. Sadly, the wiper blade not in brilliant condition on this car, but let's do that again in slow motion. So smooth for all that action. It's annoying you have to actually turn the stalk to operate the different wiper settings, but it remains a beautiful piece of engineering. And I'll just bring you in for a closer look. You can see how it gets right up into the corner of the windscreen, minimizing the corners of disappointment. There is no triangle of doom, for there is only one wiper, and you get this lovely little heart pattern on the windscreen at the bottom. It's yeah, an amazing piece of technology, and they last remarkably well. Thank you, car, for handing me my seatbelt. Fired a smooth engine into life. Yeah, it just sounds like a fairly modern 4-cylinder engine. I do like the gear lever. It's a jiggity pattern, and you can actually feel your way around it. You don't have to necessarily look down. So if you just go down to there, I know I'm straight into drive and we're ready to drive away. I need to release the handbrake with that little lever and off we go. Starting off, I think, in second gear. Oh no, we did actually change into second on the move. And it's just an effortless car to drive. Everything is just so easy. Might have to do the window up once we get underway just to calm the noise down a bit, but yeah, nothing about this car is complicated. You've just got two pedals, you put it in drive and away you go. It's a very smooth engine. Yeah, we're gonna have to do this window up. And a very smooth transmission as well. Like I say, on mine it wouldn't use first gear unless you told it to by stamping on the throttle. Got the wrong side of the indicator, it's actually indicated right, which is a bit unusual for a car sold in the UK in the 1990s. That's our 50-mile-an-hour speed limit uphill. So if you ask it to get a shift on, it will, and we're actually in economy mode at the moment. That's not even in sport mode on the transmission, and it still gets plenty of a shift on. I will say what I'm missing compared to the 300e I had is just that effortless torque. It's a very lazy gearbox, which I applaud. I like my automatic gearboxes to be lazy, but by the same token, there's not quite enough torque to pull it off at times, especially when you're hill climbing. But yeah, it's just, oh, I mean, listen to how tight it is. There aren't any trim rattles. It feels practically brand new. And this is a car that's getting on for 30 years old. That's quite remarkable. I think actually I have driven a 200, which definitely feels underpowered. And some of the diesels were definitely lacking in grunt, but a bit like the W123, to be honest, you don't really want to go any quicker than you can go. They encourage a certain amount of waft, and there's lots of lovely little features as well, like we've got a little thing there to make sure you're not getting blinded by sun above the interior mirror. The main sun visors are a good size as well. It's just a car where a lot of thought has gone into it. I think this is arguably the sort of car Rover would like to build at the time, and they just never had the resources to quite match this. I think if you look back at the Rover P6, there's a very similar vibe to the W123 Mercedes there, and this is very much an evolution of that 123. It's that same hewn from granite feel. The major difference between the 124 and the 123 is the handling. A 123 really does not want to corner quickly. It'll kind of tolerate it, but it won't make it fun. It'll actually feel quite miserable. Whereas driving a 124 quick down a twisty lane, it feels very accomplished indeed. And it's just unmistakably a Mercedes-Benz. It feels like no other car out there. And that's definitely to their credit that they were able to give the car such a strong identity. And it's sold in really strong numbers as well. I have a feeling they sold over 2 million of these, which for an executive car is extraordinary. Yeah, the cruise control works nicely and is unobtrusive. It's just a marvellous car to drive. It's very peaceful, even with these sort of pillarless, frameless doors. It's yeah, an extraordinary car. Let's see if we can find somewhere a bit twistier. And I'm going to switch it up into sport mode as well. There she goes. So that gets her shifting on a bit, but very German long travel throttle. We're going to drop it into third for a bit more engine braking. Oh yeah. And it's not like you're drifting around the bends, but it just feels more poised, more competent than the W123. Yeah, it's still very much a lazy automatic transmission, even when you start interjecting yourself and getting involved. I just tend to knock it into third just for that bit of extra engine braking. And it's very easy to do, because to pull straight back, you've then got to bring it over to get down to second, and you can't manually select first. So it's down for third like that, and then across and back for second. Yeah, this kind of feels wrong. This is like taking your grandmother disco dancing. That's not what these cars were meant to do, but by heck do they feel good doing it. Really, they are all about the cruise. Very, very good brakes. Feel very assured, good pedal feel. So they're not too fierce. And here we go. Whoa! Yeah, it does sound a little raucous compared to the smooth 6-cylinder. But it's when you ease off and you just let things settle down, that's when these cars become truly magical. And this road is undulating quite a lot, but we're feeling none of it. We are not exposed to the discomfort. It's, yeah, uncanny suspension, and that's coming from a Citroen owner. Frankly, I think I'd forgotten just how good these cars are. But sadly, towards the end of the 1990s, Mercedes-Benz was going through a bit of a cost-cutting regime. There was the ill-fated merger with Chrysler, which sadly, rather than making Chryslers suddenly make them feel like they're made out of good quality materials, instead it was quite the opposite, and it ended up being that Mercedes-Benz products started feeling cheaper, and that's very sad, really. We've got the three-pointed star up ahead, very commanding view of the road, and lots of safety as well. Mercedes-Benz put these cars voluntarily through offset crash scenarios, front and rear. So it was kind of NCAP standards before NCAP was a thing here. An extraordinary piece of engineering, but just translates into a car which is so easy, so pleasant, so comfortable to drive. I sadly fear that Mercedes-Benz, like so many others, have lost their way a bit. This is simple, but very, very well done. I've just opened the sunroof, and even that is beautifully engineered. There's no buffeting, just a bit more fresh air coming through. That is lovely. Oh, well, there we go. That is a fine piece of engineering. These cars really are something else. Just the attention to detail and the way they've just been built so well to do a specific job. They are very, very good cars. I hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget you can head to the Hubnut store and show a bit of love for the store, and also find support options. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in a future video. Pachoo!